And welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another lovely week of ESL Open Cup Asia number 166. I'm of course your host for the day, Light VIP, and with me I will maybe be joined by someone else. For the time being, I will be alone. Smurge, Papi Smurge. Whether it's Yaku, whether it's Chase, whether it's Asher Bro, I will try and get someone on later on in the broadcast. But we have a spicy first round match. Oh, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It is a Zerg player spawning in the top right hand corner of Ancient Cistern. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Club Envy. It is Mondo. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent, the South Korean Terran, also representing Club Envy. It is QuanTa. Oh, I love him so much. Yo, the best round one match available on the bracket. How could I not just jump at these two players? They're amazing. They are beautiful. We have casted them both before here on the CranKy Ducklings. QuanTa plenty of times. He is, of course, one of the three South Korean Terran bears. QuanTa, Jinio, Percival, Honmon. Okay, look, there's four of them. I think Percival is Goldilocks. I think Percival is the one that gets mauled by the bears. But QuanTa is, of course, one of the trifecta of the kind of mid-tier South Korean Terran players, and a very stylistic Terran player as well. He is just crazy and creative. He is the one known for the quad Thor drop. Just think about that for a moment. 4 Thors in Medvacs, rushing across the map, hitting a 1-1 timing. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. So I got a lot of love for QuanTa, just because of how unique of a player he is. Meanwhile, his opponent is someone that we casted recently, about a month ago. We casted a show match between Mondo and Dolan. This was, of course, back when Dolan was on the CranKy Ducklings and representing us. Since then, our team has shrunk a little bit, at least when it comes to the pro players. But Dolan did play against Mondo, and he had a pretty solid best of 7 show match against him. And, of course, Dolan, our boy, did come out on top. I think something that we saw from Mondo is he's a very solid player, don't get us wrong. He's obviously an amateur player in Korea. He's GM, he's rising the ranks, he's trying to prove himself, he's trying to break into the scene. But he is lacking a little bit when it comes to, I don't want to say consistency, but we saw him a lot against Mech, and we saw him maybe not necessarily having the broadest view of the game state, maybe being stuck in the mid game a little bit too long, and his transitions were lacking. I think that's what I was trying to get at. The big thing that he was lacking in were his transitions. They were quite late, or sometimes non-existent. Sometimes he was very stubborn about staying on Roach Ravager, on Swarm Host play as well, and we actually saw that here on this map on Ancient Cistern, and we'll see how he does here against QuanTa, because QuanTa is willing to play mech, he is willing to play that slower style. So I wonder if Mondo maybe even has a little bit more success, because these two are good friends, they are teammates, they are practice partners. I'm sure they have played plenty of times in the past, and we're already seeing something a little bit different. QuanTa, he's going for a 1-1-1 3cc, a 3cc before Starport, a very economic, very standard opener here from QuanTa. Meanwhile, Mondo actually is going for very fast pneumatized carapace, very fast Overlord speed, which is something that we usually don't see. He didn't pull out of gas to get this, or he did pull back into gas a lot faster to get that 100 gas. So yeah, this is really interesting. With this, Mondo is going to be able to get a full scout off. There we go, the Overlord is already en route, and it's a very safe way to play. It's also kind of very out of meta, out of fashion. Ooh, as QuanTa flies a little bit too close to the sun, loses his Reaper and his Hellion. Very nicely done by Mondo. He shuts down some of the aggressive potential of QuanTa. We see a full scout in the main base, and Mondo is able to confirm the 1-1-1. Oh my god, this is wild. he does see the lack of an add-on swap, but we have Marauders on the way. QuanTa, he cancels. Okay, what? Oh my god, he's crazy. QuanTa showed Stim he was making a Marauder, which was sus. He cancels everything, and he throws down 2 more factories. Oh boy. And this is what I was talking about earlier. QuanTa is the kind of player to play mech. Like, more often than not, we see QuanTa whip out the mech style, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing right now. Meanwhile, we just see a bit of a dive from these Hellions. Some drones are getting roasted up. The Lings are a little bit out of position, but they are coming in, and only 4 drones go down. Not the worst case in the world, or worst case scenario for Mondo. He's able to survive and deflect this. Meanwhile, I can see it so clearly now. We have a reactor on the starport. We have an add-on switch for the factories, for these tech labs, and we see another very important scout. This is crucial for Mondo. He sees the production. He sees the reactor. We see the double armory because QuanTa is going for a 1-1 timing. He's wild. Oh my god, the Marine's going to be cleaning this up. But again, very important for Mondo to go in for the scout. Maybe the Pneumatized carapace is because he plays against QuanTa so often, and he knows how tricky QuanTa can be, as he's going for a hellbound run, but he's trying to bust down this wall, but the wall is solid. The Queen is unrelenting. She be thick, and there's no way into the natural. The Hellions get shut down. Very nicely done by Mondo. Also, that wall is not a wall. We just saw a Queen slip past that. There we go. 1-1's on the way. We have tanks as well. Somehow this Overlord is still alive, by the way. So, the value that Pneumatized Carapace has given Mondo is insane. Finally, he gets cleaned up. And finally, we see Mondo. I saw him throw down the infestation bit earlier, and I assumed it was for Swarm Hosts. And there we go. Swarm Hosts are coming out. We saw this against Dolan. We saw this on Ancient Cistern, and the problem was I believe it was the very first Locust wave from Mondo didn't really do any damage, and he was really struggling to find an angle unscouted, and we saw Dolan shut this down, eventually max out, eventually counterattack. But this was a month ago. This was a month ago where Dolan was able to use his mech to supersede this kind of Roach Swarm Host style. Mondo has had plenty of time to practice, to refine himself, and to improve. And that is where I want to see that happen. He's coming at this at a pretty good angle, going for that triangular third. Here we go. The Swarm Hosts so far have been unscattered. Mondo has also done a phenomenal job at just shutting down all these Hellions and shutting down any kind of aggression. Widowmine is going to be getting a shot off, but we've got some options, and we're going for the tanks. There we go. 1 tank is going to go down immediately. The second tank is going to go down. Ooh, just barely as well. 2 tanks for the first wave. Isn't too bad. You know, some nice value gotten here from Mondo already, and more Swarm Hosts are coming out. As all this is happening, Mondo is taking his 4th. I would love to see a 5th base. We should be seeing one soon, but we saw this earlier as well. Mondo, he's not looking for a late game. He's not looking for a longer game. He is maxed out. He's staying on 68 workers. He's basically committed. He's basically all in with this style. And there's pros and cons to this, obviously. Like, if this doesn't end the game soon, it's going to get harder and harder for the Zerg player. It's going to get harder and harder for Mondo. Here we go. We do have a bit of a Hellion run by trying to slip on in. Locust Wave dives on top of some of these tanks. There's not a lot to protect the tanks, and 2 tanks are going to be going down. A lot of the units here for QuanTa are stuck at the 3rd base, and Mondo doesn't have to push here. He can go to the natural if he wants to, but he wants the tanks, and he's gonna connect with those bars. He gets on top of those tanks. Every single tank is going to go down. QuanTa was spread a little bit too thin. Is pulling the boys. The Swarm Hosts are waiting a little bit for another Locust Wave. The Roaches are getting trapped. Oh my god. Oh, Widowmine shots go off, and the Roach Ravager gets cleaned up at the same time. Hellions made their way into the natural and the main base. 7 drones did get roasted. As a result, QuanTa, his economy is actually better than that of Mondo's. This is what I was talking about. Mondo has to end the game soon. Oh, and as the game goes on, QuanTa's going to be stabilizing. Here we go. A 3rd Locust Wave is coming out, is going to be laying siege upon the natural base. Tanks are on siege. Roaches are just funneling in. Oh, and it looks like they're going to be getting on top of the tanks. Up. Oh, I spoke too soon. QuanTa with a hot pickup is able to save them, but the 3rd base is a forfeit. Ooh, and losing all these workers is not something that QuanTa can afford. GG gets called. Mondo 68 drone all in. GG. He's able to hit his timing and take the first game against QuanTa. Oh, pretty solid result, to be honest. Pretty solid result. Just and again, like, it all kind of added up, right? We saw Mondo completely shut down any kind of Hellion run by time and time again, even the Hellbat run by that we saw earlier. And these Locust Waves, they weren't really concerned with getting economic damage. They weren't going for SCVs, they weren't going for bases, they were going for tanks instead. He knew that he just had to snowball, he had to try and keep that tank count in check for the Roach Ravager to clean up. And we saw the first wave did get deflected, but it got deflected after killing 6 to 7 tanks. The value was gone in there for Mondo. It was gone. GG, and now we are getting ready for our second game. Game number 2 is going to be on, it's going to be on Gresvan. Interesting, a bit of a smaller map compared to Ancient Cistern. A lot of different angles, a lot of attack paths, a lot of terrain to take advantage of as well. We've been talking about this over the past couple of weeks, but Gresvan has become one of our more favorite maps to cast just because of how dynamic it is, just because of how much action we see on it as well. I think a lot of people were a little bit concerned that maybe we would get shorter games, or it would be a little bit too abusable, but it's been anything but. Or maybe it has been abusable, but for both sides. So it's fine, it's fine. As we're going to be loading into game number 2, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Gresvan, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Club Envy. It is Mondo, the rising star, the up-and-comer. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponent, his teammate, also representing Club NV. It is QuanTa. Here we go again. QuanTa, known for his mech more than anything. Mondo is looking to make a splash in the scene. He's looking to make a dent here, make a name for himself, and taking the first game off of QuanTa is already a great feat. Can he take a series as well? I'm looking forward to it. Again, it was a very nice timing, very refined as well in the last game. What I will say about game number 1 is that if QuanTa's Hellion run-bys did do damage, if they did get into the natural or the third base, if they got into a mineral line, then Mondo would have had a much more difficult time. His push would have been delayed. It wouldn't have been anywhere near as impactful as well. Like, again, Mondo was on a timer, so it's so important that he was able to minimize drone losses as much as possible. And QuanTa, you know, not without trying, he was trying his hardest to try and pull that off, to try and keep Mondo's economy in check. We'll see if he has better success here in game number 2. So far, we have a pretty standard openers from both players. Hatch gas pool from Mondo. We have an SCV scout coming across the map for QuanTa. Again, QuanTa, he doesn't strike me from the games that we've been able to cast of him. He's not necessarily a cheesy player, stylistic more than anything, you know, as I do like to say. I would love to see his quad Thor drop here in game number 2. I thought we were going to see it on Ancient Cistern. I feel like it's a good map for it. But we also see that Mondo is familiar with QuanTa, and I think that if you're going to go for pneumatized carapace, if you're going for Overlord speed, QuanTa is the kind of player that you want to do that against. You know, when I think of like prioritizing scouting, I think of QuanTa, I think of Mono as well, for example. These kind of tricky players that try to hide their tech switches. Up! Oh. As we saw, QuanTa already getting a little bit of value. He did delay the third base, and he did have an SCV here at the triangular third. He forced Mondo to take a bit of a later third base instead. So, you know, a little bit of a win already for QuanTa. He wants the tumor! Oh, he's not going to get it. A little bit greedy there. QuanTa takes a couple of additional hits. He's got to be careful as the queen is going to waddle on forward, but QuanTa is paying attention. Back at home, once again, a 3cc opener, 3rd CC before starport. Very economic, just like game number 1. And Mondo did pull out a gas this time, so it looks like he will not be going for Overlord speed. It looks like he's going to be taking this a little bit easier here after taking that first game. Meanwhile, the Reaper comes back in and it will not get the drone. Oh, it was close there. It was close. Mondo is actually making a decent wave of lings here. We'll see if he makes more. These lings are typically designed to deny any kind of push from the Hellions, but no, they are rushing across the map. He did make a little bit more than is typical. He's actually making 4 more behind this. Jesus. The lings are looking to avoid the Hellions. This is a very risky move, by the way, but he sees that there is no wall into the natural, so he wants to try and catch QuanTa unawares. The Hellions are on the front lines. The Lings rush on in. It looks like they will get a bit of a surround on one of the Hellions. Second Hellion is behind the wall, but the mineral line is completely forfeit, and so many SCVs are going to be going down. The Hellions rush back home, but the damage has already been done, and the Lings are going for the Hellions. Up! Oh my god. The Hellion gets surrounded, the Reaper as well, and the SCVs will get targeted down afterwards. Ay, 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 this is an insane amount of damage, and behind this, Mondo is just droning. Oh my god. QuanTa being punished for not having the map vision and the map awareness to see and spot that Ling run by. Meanwhile, he does go for a 1-1-1 into a Banshee, but this all gets scouted. The Overlord goes in, sees the Banshee, sees a second one on the way, also confirms that there is no cloak. And Mondo should be able to prepare for this without any issues. He's got Queens on the way, we've got Spores on the way as well. Spore in the main, Spore at the third. No Spore at the natural, so there is, you know, a bit of a weak point. As once again another Hellion gets surrounded. QuanTa, every time he pushes in with his Hellions, he gets punished for it. Mondo's been really quick. It's been really impressive to see how active Mondo has been with these Lings and how much value he's gotten from them. Meanwhile, he's just going to be able to saturate his bases. He's taken his second and third gas. He's going to be expanding and taking another hatchery. There we go. Fourth is on the way. Everything is as it should be, and now the pressure is on QuanTa. Now, he's the one who lost SCVs, he lost map control, he lost his Hellions, and he's actually not playing with mech this time. Looking at the vision here, Mondo wasn't able, well, he was able to see the additional Raxes as they were on the way, and he saw Stim as well. So Mondo has a good idea. We have Overlord speed on the way once again, just to confirm, but for the most part, there we go. We have a Ling going in for a scout. He sees both NG base, he sees them researching, he knows it's bio. Meanwhile, across the map, both Banshees try and find some damage. They do get 2 drones, but we need more than 2 drones to really pay for ourselves, to really get that damage, or to really kind of make these Banshees worthwhile. So far, they're still alive, and they still can dip back in, bearing in mind that QuanTa did not invest into Cloak. So these Banshees, in a way, they don't have to do as much damage because we don't have as much invested into them, but, you know, they still got to do something. Nice, they get another 2 drones, 3, 4 drones, 6 in total. Not bad, not bad at all. Meanwhile, we do see QuanTa just ramping up with his bio, working on a bit of a 1-1 timing. The armory is on the way to get into 2-2 as soon as possible, and he's done a decent job at kind of recovering, but unfortunately, because he lost all of his Hellions and because of his opener, he just doesn't have any map control, and Mondo has been able to spread his creep uninterrupted. He's been able to take his expansions, he's been able to do whatever he wants. These Banshees though, oh my god, are they gonna get a queen? Ooh, they will get a queen for the cost of a Banshee. 4 more drones went down. Oh no! 10 drones and a queen for 2 Banshees. I want to say we're even there. It's not a bad trade for QuanTa, but now Mondo doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Now he can focus on his bases. We should be seeing, there we go, macro hatches on the way. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 5th base on the way as well. There's no reason not to, as QuanTa is finally going to push out here onto creep. He's got 2 tanks with this push. He's got 2 medevacs as well. Not the scariest. Oh my god. I was like, is he going to go into the main? He's just setting up here outside the triangular third. Oh, he's got to be careful to overextend. He does scan. He does clear out a lot of this creep. At the same time, Mondo tries to go for a Ling run by, but the wall is a wall, and the reinforcements will be able to hold the line. Meanwhile, Mondo is respecting the potential of a Doom Drop very well. We have 3 spores already set up, and here we go. Mondo is pulling the trigger. He has enough Wing Bane to completely crush this army. Oh, a lot of the Marines will survive, actually, and the Lings don't find their way. They don't find themselves on top of the tanks. Oh my god. QuanTa actually trading quite well here. He's going to get cleaned up, obviously, but that cost Mondo a lot. Meanwhile, we have another double drop here on the right-hand side. No Banelings are ready for this, by the way. Oh, again, a very inefficient trade for Mondo. Pushing off of creep the way that he did. I'm still surprised by how poorly he fought here against these tanks. Like, QuanTa got so much value, not just from his initial push, but also from the double drop. And now, again, he's clawing his way back into this. Mondo still has map control overall. He still has creep all over the place as well, and he's continuing to spread and respread that creep. But, you know, he doesn't have as much of a lead as he would have liked to have had at this point. There we go, another double drop gonna be moving on out. QuanTa just slowly securing his 4th base, a pretty crucial 4th at that. If this base gets established and if we get some nice SimCity, then we can take a 5th pretty safely behind it. And even a 6th. The double drop does make it here just to keep this creep in check and just to make life as difficult as possible for Mondo to expand towards the southern portion of the map. Banelings roll on in. Ooh, hot pickup. No connection so far. But this northern area and the center portion of the map is completely under Zerg control. Like, oh, QuanTa's gonna have a hard time really establishing any kind of presence here. We do see his Marines pushing on forward, but we do have some Ling Bane not too far away. There we go, scans on. He wants the queens! Oh, no transfuse! Every single queen is going to be targeted down. Banelings are rolling on in, and they will find some connections. But regardless, getting all those queens is already insane here for QuanTa. Oh my god, he's just going to keep clearing even more creep. Ooh. Eventually this will be cleaned up, but alas, what I worry about, okay, there we go. Mondo is replacing those queens. We have 3 queens in production, but before those queens come out, you know, this creep control that we saw earlier is receding. You know, QuanTa is fighting back for that control. He's taking a supply lead. He's up to 4 bases. Like, his economy is phenomenal at the moment. It's what we want to be seeing as a Terran player, and we have a game. I was worried that Mondo would take too much of a lead, but I worry a little bit. I feel like 2-2 is delayed. His hive is a little bit late. We do have adrenal glands, thankfully, but yeah, tech-wise, we're still working with Ling Bane. Ultras are on the way, but they're not out yet. Here we go. Another base is going to be dying towards the south. The Ling Bane's going to be rolling on forward off of creep. Not the wisest choice. Mondo forced to pull back. His entire army is responding. And QuanTa already has 3 on the way. Lings are coming in from behind, and these tanks are exposed. They're on siege, Papi. Oh, they're on siege. Every single tank is going to be going down. The Banelings are going to have a hard time connecting, so the Marines will survive. But what mattered is those tanks. And now QuanTa doesn't really have too much pushing power, not anymore. Yeah, just an unfortunate moment to unsiege, an unfortunate moment to expose the tanks the way that he did. So with that, Mondo, he can breathe easy. He's got his ultras, he's working on his kindness plating, he's working on ultra speed. I don't remember the name of ultra speed. I'll be honest. I don't remember, but we have a Spire on the way to get into Brood Lords if we need to. Just double expanding, taking every base that we can. And we're just going to be chilling for a while. After QuanTa lost all of his tanks, he's got to back off, he's got to rebuild. And trying to hit a timing here with 3-3 I think would be ideal. You know, he has maxed out at this point. Meanwhile, it looks like finally Mondo is looking to be the aggressor. Now that he has a couple of ultras, he has an anchor point to his army. Oh, that was a kill, not a cancel. QuanTa does find a free hatchery. Oh, does he find a free ultra? Uh-oh. Oh, it does take a lot of hits. Meanwhile, QuanTa's moving on forward. Mondo is predicting this, but I don't think he has enough. Ultras are going to be able to get on top of the tanks at the cost of Lingbane. Not a bad trade. Meanwhile, at the same time, QuanTa is pulling himself apart a little bit here. Oh no! Just doesn't have the attention for it. Towards the north, he takes massive Baneley connections, and towards the south, there just isn't enough here to contend against the Ultras. QuanTa losing on both fronts. And now we're finally working on some anti-air. We've got Corruptors on the way. We're transfusing and keeping these Ultras alive. I'm impressed. I don't think a single Ultra has died so far. Okay, one Ultra has gone down. But Mondo has been able to keep up. His creep is, you know, lacking a little bit, but he's on top of it. There we go. Creep is being respread. At a certain point, we're going to have to try and break some of these locations. Without Vipers, it's going to be a bit of a tough ask. We're going to be seeing some pretty rough fights if Mondo tries to just brute force his way through any of these bases. It looks like that's what he wants to do. Let's go, Papi. His army gets scanned. QuanTa is repositioning here towards the south, setting up his tanks. Switching to Liberators would probably be ideal here for QuanTa. At the moment, he's still just stuck on Biotank. I don't believe he has... Yeah, he doesn't have the starports to really switch productions and switch up his tech. As a result, like, Lingbane Ultra, it's gonna do fine here. We don't really need to invest, and here we go. As I say that, QuanTa, he throws down his fusion core, he throws down a second starport and a Ghost Academy, so he is looking to transition into either Liberators or even BCs. But this is a late transition from our Terran player. The Banelings roll on forward. They don't find too many SCVs, but damage is done nonetheless, and here we go. Mondo's pulling the trigger. I don't think this is where we want to be pushing. Into all these tanks. The Banelings will get the planetary, but we're losing all these Ultras. I don't know if that was worth it. One Ultra survives. We got the base. We're gonna be triggering a counterattack, and Mondo is remaxing on Lingbane. The Banelings are getting caught out here in the middle of the map. Mondo, did we throw? Did we? Was it the best choice to ape into that planetary? We're about to find out. Banelings are about to finish morphing. Before that happens, this hatchery may go down. Here we go. Mondo wants to try and save it. The Banelings are gonna find their connections. Oh, just barely on the bio. The tanks are trying to hold the line as well. Reinforcements are trickling in. Mondo, he's trying to break on through with his Ultras, and it looks like he barely will. Once again, QuanTa, his army movement, his bio was forced away from his tanks. He was running away from his own kind of defensive line, and as a result, some pretty inefficient trades here for QuanTa, and he wasn't able to get a base. He wasn't able to touch the drone count of Mondo, and he lost so much. He does replace the planetary, but look at the supply. Mondo remaxes, and QuanTa needs time. Oh boy. Again, like, this is what happens when you try and duke it out without ghosts and without libs. Against like a hive tech Zerg army. It's just so difficult to pull off here. The tech transition for QuanTa was just a little bit too late. And now Mondo has all the momentum. It's just a numbers game. QuanTa doesn't have the units to defend. Another base is going to be going down. We see QuanTa trying to go for a drop across the map. He will get a hatchery. He'll get 2 hatcheries, actually. Not too bad for 1 drop. But at this point, we need more. You know, we got the Ghost Academy and the Fusion Core eventually, but alas, we never got to make use of it. We never got to make any ghosts. We never got to see lib range or even a weird BC transition, which would have been crazy. lib range more often than not. Yeah, we just couldn't get into it. Now QuanTa is being pulled apart. Once again, a Ling run by towards the north. No tanks in position whatsoever. The Bio Army gets distracted, and in comes Mondo. He wants the base. He wants it. Oh my god, he rolls into tank. Oh my god. You never want to be seeing Banelings rolling into tanks, but you know what? We can afford it, I guess. It's fine. It was like 15 Banelings for one tank. Ay. My Zerg heart was bleeding. Ugh. And at this point, there are no more planetaries remaining. I mean, there's one planetary. It's like in between all the bases. Nice stutter stepping here, and nice control from QuanTa to fight back against this one Ultra. He's gonna be able to get it. Beautiful. And Mondo just smashing his head against the wall, and it's working. The wall is falling. The wall is breaking. Here we go, time for round number 4. Once again, a Ling run by to distract here towards the north, and once again, Mondo's main army is slipping in here towards the south. There's no sensor tower for QuanTa to have any vision of this, and he's not in position at all. Oh, another mineral line goes down, and this time there is just not enough Terran. Too much Zerg on the dance floor. GG. Mondo takes the series 2-0. Wow. Hold on, which button is it? Yeah. GG. Well played. A result that I wasn't really expecting here. Congratulations to Mondo, a player who is not as known as QuanTa. He doesn't have as much notoriety behind him. And we saw Mondo struggle against Dolan a month ago, as I mentioned earlier. But after a month of practice and after a month of refinement, it's really cool to see Mondo improve straight up. Like, I do think he did. He had such a better, crisp timing in game number 1. He had great Hellion defense as well, and even Hellbat defense. Here in game number 2, there were some questionable engagements from Mondo, but for the most part, like, he was able to just establish map control really early on. He was able to just shut down a lot of the pushes as well. A lot of his engagements that were in the middle of the map were quite solid. His engagements into the defensive lines, not as much, but he was ahead enough where he could pull it off, and yeah, GG, well played to Mondo. As he moves on in the bracket, and he is going to be facing a player who has been patiently waiting. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. I believe we have a Zerg player waiting for him. Yes, we do.